All right, everyone. Welcome to today's show. I'm really, really happy to have this person on. Her name's Rebecca Barron, and I saw her talking to my friend Franco on his podcast, and I was immediately like, "Wow, this person is so aligned with everything that goes on my podcast and the guests I've been having on." Rebecca's going to talk about her incredible story that goes into the satanic ritual framework and spider's web and the path to healing and then the path to healing others. So, Rebecca, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you, John, for inviting me on.
Oh no, thank you.
Yes.
And
Um,
yeah, that interview with Franco, I was like, wow, okay, this is it didn't sound crazy to me. It didn't sound out there to me. I was just like, yep, this is just perfectly connecting all the dots that I've done myself.
yeah.
And if it's okay, we'll get into that, right? So it's basically your journey breaking I guess the black magic, the spell that was around you, and the programming from childhood. Is that kind of correct? And even
Yeah.
before that, would you like to tell the audience, your kind of profession and the books you've been writing as well, so we can get that in?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So I'm I suppose people are called like a healer, but I'm not really a healer. People heal themselves, but I have abilities where I'm able to see beyond the physical reality, and especially like the brain and how the brain works, how consciousness works, how there's two sets of consciousness that everybody has, the female and the masculine, and how trauma affects us, and how coming out of trauma, it's through evolving and becoming aware and breaking down the programs, the mental programs that we create as children in order to survive. So although that um, somebody hasn't been through thank God, satanic stuff, there's still trauma that takes place and that affects their life. So I just help people become aware. So they come to me with medical problems or relationship issue, anything, and I have a look and find out why they're creating it, and get to the point where people feel that, oh, I am my own creator. So it's like an empowered place. So I have a place on Patreon, just like you, and I've been helping people for many years. And how I've helped is also understanding myself. So, understanding that through uh, reacting to life, I understood I started to gain memories back when I was about 33 onwards of satanic stuff that happened to me, and which involved the royal family and their plan for me. So it's one hell of a ride, yeah, and healing from that. Um, so yeah, and then I wrote a book about it. So I wrote a book about, and really it was the book was for me. It was very therapeutic and and yeah, so it feels very sort of another, like a different life I've lived, kind of thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, so
And for everyone watching, it's called One Set of Footprints. I've just gone through it this weekend
yeah,
as well, and it's
bless
really
you.
fascinating. I mean, it's just layers and layers of like the onion, isn't it? Like as soon as you pulled off one layer, there's another layer there.
Yeah,
It's unbelievable, really. I mean, it's the stuff you've gone through. My heart really went out to some of like the trauma and the pain and the suffering, and then you feeling quite. I really felt like the helplessness and the despair of not knowing who to go to, and then like for me, the journey of that book is you actually realizing that the power lies within yourself and to not give that power away to anyone else. Because I think that's almost like the infantilization of people is that they kind of always look for the savior figure outside themselves. But as I was reading it, it was like you were coming to your own realizations that actually you are your own source of power and
Mhm.
strength. And, you said that God is within and stuff like that. And then it's
Mhm.
almost like by the end, you'd realize that you had taken control back within yourself, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. When we're traumatized as little ones, we have little ones' frequencies in us, and mum and dad are usually there to help us, and it's part of the journey of understanding. Actually, I'm a grown up now. I've got to sort this stuff out. And any time that I did go outside of myself, if it was angels or a healer or some sort, I'd get very, very attacked. So I went through basically what I went through as a child. I basically went through again as an adult, but on a different level, psychically, and through that able to heal the child, and then also gain more empowerment for myself. That realizing actually everything, if it's religion or anything, it's the big key was to learn to trust and believe in myself, and because your heart will show you everything that you have everything in you in order to evolve. And so to evolve out of these energies, because these energies are alien energies, and they interjected alien energies into me, inhumane experiences. They're, hybrid humans. They're not like you and I. They think differently, they act differently, they behave in a way that you can't even comprehend, you won't even understand. And to get all those energies out of me, which was the most important, so I could be myself. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I would love to start with that. And I know because you only started to get your memories back at 33 about from your childhood, it
Mm.
might be worth starting off there. I'm not sure, but because you said that you were attacked with like black magic, and you started to see the smoky figures in the bedroom, and you were being attacked, right? But is it worth starting there, or is it worth starting right at the beginning of in your childhood, and it's talking about because you went through what my audience knows that was satanic ritual abuse, or you could say like mind control programming, right? For it's like
Yeah.
trauma-based mind control. Where would
Yeah.
you like to start with that, Rebecca? What feels right to you?
Well, my life, I woke up at 27.
Uh-huh.
So I had an awakening at 27, and that was like a crazy time. I was quite like normal, normal, went to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Went to work. I didn't
Yeah.
think about anything really. Although, my mum was psychic. She read palms and stuff. So that was, but other than that, my dad watched Star Wars, and it wasn't,
Mm.
it was just normal in but then I woke up at 27, and then life became quite crazy. My heart, the awakening, I was left my job and was abroad, so I had time to like relax for the first time. And then I started to analyze myself and reflect on myself, my behaviors and how I felt, which was the first time. And then boom, my heart opened, and my heart just started telling me all this stuff. So the information, it was like, there's, beings here that are not human. And anyway, this crazy time went on for 6 weeks. I didn't really need to eat. I didn't really need to sleep. I just inner knowledge started to come through, which started to change my way of reality, that this earth, this place, our reality has been under attack. We're in a war. And that war has been going on for thousands and thousands of years. And for me, that, I'm like, my poor husband at the time, bless him, he tried to keep me grounded. But it was, it was a really crazy 6 weeks. And then I came back, and I came off my path and went on to a different path. I found Dolores Cannon, and then I started doing that healing. And I started to not only heal, I had reflexology under my belt earlier on. So I started to work with people, and I'd pick up, my psychic skills started to really come about, and I would feel people and understand what was going on in their life at that moment, all the emotions that they were struggling with. And then at that time, then a man came into my life, and this man displayed himself as a healer. Now, before that, sorry, we moved, and then we moved into this big house. It was like Amityville Horror. I actually called the book Amityville Horror. And we moved into this big house, and I started healing in this house. So I've got two small young children, 3 and 1 years old. And within weeks of moving in, these beings were in the house, these smoky black beings. And we're just like, what the hell is going on? It would keep us awake at night. And then it just kind of snowballed, and I didn't know what to do. So it was disrupting the whole house. I didn't know what these things were. I didn't know where to get help. And in that time, also a lady had contacted me, and she was like, "Oh," and I told her everything. She found me. She was also a Dolores Cannon practitioner. So she found me. She goes, "Oh, I live in the area. Do you want to meet up for a coffee?" Anyway, I ended up telling her everything, and she goes, "Oh, I know this man. He's a healer, but he was actually he's like well known. I won't say his name because he likes to sue people.
Okay.
He's well known, and I didn't know of him because I wasn't part of that community. I wasn't part of the spiritual community. It wasn't something that was part of. And she said, oh, because, you know, he deals with these, and these are called jinn, these beings. And so I started going, you know, I had a session with him, and things just got worse. And my little boy was talking about reptilians visiting him at night, and talking to him and sitting on his bed, and how do we get rid of these dinosaurs, mummy? And I, within the space of 9 months, the attacks that I had from like energetic attacks to reptilians to loads of stuff just went wrong. Like everything would go wrong. I was a mess. I couldn't work. My mental health just dived. And then I went on a protective weekend, psychic protective weekend, and realized that actually this man who portrayed himself as a healer was actually a black magician. And he had basically targeted me. He wanted me.
Why did he come after you though? What, like, why you?
Well, I was attached to the system unknowingly. I was part of their, you know, and they had me as a child, and energetically, because they had traumatized me as a child, their energy was in me. Yeah. So, you know, the Queen, to Prince Philip, to Jimmy Savile, I was one. So if I started to branch out or bring more light into myself, it was like, you get down, you don't do that. Yeah. I had no memory of these memories didn't come till later. Like, so the black magician came in, and then obviously very, very vulnerable after that. Because it's not like you can call Ghostbusters, is it?
No, exactly. Who are you going to call?
You know, who are you going to call? And then because of the vulnerability, I found a book about angels, and I was like, oh my God. So it's praying to the angels. And then attacks started happening that, and then worked out I was getting like demonic, me and my family were getting attacked by demonic beings. So it was like, oh my God. And then
One thing after
realized
another.
it was basically I was like at university on how the dark worked for years. It was just and it's helped me a lot because it helped people, you know, now. But because I was giving my power away, I gave my power away to this man who was a black magician, you know, help me. He didn't help me, just life worse. Then to the angels. And then that's when really the first time I started using my skills and started to see that I was in like a matrix, and the angels work with the demons and the demons work with the angels. And it's a big program. You know, we see it all the time. We don't think anything of it. You know, you've got the good guy, the bad guy. You've got the politicians, you've got the Biden, you've got the Trump. Then all at the end of the day, they work for the same thing. Yeah. So it's a program that humanity is in. And everyone wants to be the good guy, you know, and then there's the bad guy. So, so did the angels and demons. And then when about 33, I started gaining my memories back. So I started to understand why all the attacks and how they could attack me. It's because I had their frequencies in me. So any trauma that's happened with an individual when you're a child, their energy is in you. Until you sort that out, till you transcend that energy, until you heal, till you understand. So I started to realize that I was part of a spider web. I was a tiny black fly, but I was in a web, and I needed to get out of that web. And the one way I started to learn as well, I was healing, you know, and understanding. And then the memories started to come through of what had happened to me as a child. And I started to remember that as a child, my best friend had a really close friend from when I was little. Like they would always talk like we were born around the same time. Do you know what I mean? And we grew up together. It was like we were sisters. But her parents he was a programmer, and worked for. Well, he had a job like a normal job in London, but he worked directly for the royal family as for a programmer. He programmed me from when I was little. So the first memory I came through because I started to understand that my emotions and how I reacted didn't actually simulate or didn't make sense to where I was in the now. So I started to understand that these emotions were coming from a much deeper place within me. And then as I started to understand that, I started to bring these memories through. And that memory was, he was basically, the first memory I had, he placed my head in a bucket of water, and it was like, to get me to the point of nearly death. That was but I knew when I got the memory, because the memory's like, it flood my whole body. It was like I was back there. And that's with every memory. I knew that it wasn't going to kill me. And I had to hang on. It was like, because if I didn't hang on, if I split so much, I wouldn't be the person that I was. He wanted to split my brain so much that I would completely detach from my heart. And he would bring me up, and I breathe in and then put me back down. And that was one of the nice memories. But that was my first memory. And I was like, oh my God. And I swear, John, I had no idea. I spent holidays with these people. They in an adult, they came and seen the baby when I had my baby. I had no idea whatsoever. There wasn't even an inkling. There wasn't even like nothing in me.
So you actually stayed friends with them until adulthood then?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
do you think that, so are they doing that as a way, as a sort of a gift to you in some like perverse way?
What, to stay friends?
Well, I've heard some families, they do it to their own children, and they're doing it to their own children because they want them to be like somehow part of that network, because they know that network provides power and status and privilege.
Yeah. So I was different because I wasn't their child,
Yeah,
and they tried to pretend that I was their child in some of the perverse things that they did.
yeah,
But I moved away from the village when I was about 14,
mm,
and but yeah, my connection was their daughter. So I went to the daughter's wedding, and then so I didn't see them a lot. But I remember, what was it? They wanted to. The mother came and seen my baby when the baby was born, but that's when other stuff started happening as well. So maybe, I needed those memories back. I needed to gain myself back. I needed to understand what happened. But obviously, I wouldn't go near them
oh,
now.
yeah.
God, no,
So,
no.
so what was that? So you would just go and visit your friend, and then they would take you in a car to like central London or something, to like certain
Yeah.
venues.
Yeah, the school was involved as well. So I have memories of being programmed at the school. So the connection
No.
with my school. Yeah.
Oh, God.
And I remember, so there was always a program. There was a program room. This was a tall tower in London, and I would go into this room. This room was, there was no wallpaper, there was no paint there was nothing. It was just like a concrete room kind of thing. And there was a tiny little window at the top, and that's where they would do the programming. So I'll tell you one, because this one is a really important one, because they do this to everybody. We think programming, when you think of MK Ultra, you just think it's like, oh God, you poor thing, like how you do for that. But this, what they did to me here explained what they do on an international thing. So I was in the room, and they brought in baby animals, and they, one by one, and they would kill the animal. They'd slit their throat and leave me in the room, in this dark room, and I would hear the animals dying. I would feel the blood on my feet. I would be basically utterly traumatized by what was taking place. And then I was led out. I remember just sitting with the handler. There was nothing. There was no human. I remember just feeling some ounce of humanity in this man, some warmth, but there was nothing. He was more like a computer. Had no compassion. So anyway, he took me into a car, and I was sitting at the back of the car, and then we drove around, and I was just in a daze, wasn't really with it. And then we stopped, and we went up to an apartment. We were in a block of flats, and we went to this apartment, and who opened the door was Jimmy Savile. And I don't think I remembered if it was Jim. I don't think I knew Jimmy Savile at that time, even though I think he was on TV at the time. I'm not sure actually. But anyway, went into the room, and I think Jimmy told me to get undressed, which I did. And in the living room was like a pentagram. And then the handler left, and then he I had to be tied onto the floor. And then he started doing this weird dancing naked by my, I'm lying there, and he started doing this weird dancing. And I was, obviously petrified. And with the trauma, you leave the body. So my body's there, but I'm sort of out of my body watching what's going on. And out came, so he's dancing, and out came these beings, which I knew were the Watchers, these black hooded beings. So they weren't in physical, they were merging with this reality, or coming into this reality, but they came through. Jimmy Savile was a portal for these beings. And then they stood around my little naked body and then watched Jimmy Savile rape me. And then the important thing was, after the rape, he went round to my ear and he started to tell me that I had killed the animals, that I was the murderer. I had killed them. And the reason that's important is because they were trying to change the narrative, because when you're in so much trauma, your heart, which is the truth, leaves the body and your mind is left by itself. So you're very, very vulnerable to believing a narrative that's not true. And I knew, even when, because when I get the memory back, I know I could feel in my heart, I didn't kill those animals. I'm not a murderer, But this is what they do on a world stage. They create a disastrous event. The people naturally, they get scared, they leave. Parts of their consciousness move back because they're scared. The mind goes into protection, and then the news tells us what's taking place. So we are vulnerable to believing lies when we're in a state of trauma, and that's kind of what they did. They would, yeah. It's
That's
not
how
a pleasant
rituals are done.
story, but it's
Yeah, no, it's important. I mean, and yeah, I've said that before on other episodes. It just came to me. It's like, what if what they do on individuals is what they do on society, and that they actually disassociate everyone with fear, and then they implant their commands into
yeah,
altars. But the altars are done on a collective basis, and that's why, even like the last 5 years, how they're able to get people to just do the most ridiculous things, even though it's quite obvious for me and you, like it was everything that went on. It was almost torture because we could see what was going on in our friends and family, just looking at us like we're completely balmy, and yet we know the truth. We know the evil in the world. We know what's coming. We can see it a mile off, and yet everyone looks at us like, it's like zombies looking at us like we're the kind of the soulless ones. But we, that's the kind of that's the effect it has, right?
yeah. There's in order to this has been like the hardest part of the journey. I've had to see my truth, and
Mm.
look, knowing people, understanding people, helping people. The biggest fear is fear of self. Who am I? Because we don't know who we are. We've lost so much, or we suppress so much of ourselves. My biggest fear at the time was like, I'm evil. I'm like this horrible person, because I did have horrible energy in me. Jimmy Savile, the Queen, all these frequencies. So it was like absolutely petrified. But even for a person who hasn't been through, we don't know ourselves, and it's like the process of knowing oneself. So we're not scared of who we are. And I think black magic's being used on human race. So it's much nicer to be in a reality where you think, oh, everything's, people wouldn't do that. And, people have got their best interest. And it's like, no,
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 no.
no.
No,
Yeah,
no.
that's the hard pill to
Yeah.
swallow, isn't it? That's the ultimate
Yeah,
hard pill
it
to
is.
swallow. And then as I was reading through your book, you were saying that it's sort of these memories came back to you, like, oh, there's a bit of feedback.
Oh.
Oh no, it's a car going past, I think, something.
Oh, yeah, it's a bit noisy.
Yeah,
I'm on
okay,
the
that's all right. No, I was just
main
thinking
road.
something feedbacking. Okay, no, it's fine. Um, yeah, so these memories kept coming back to you, and then like it became more and more clear to you that you could actually see the entire framework. And then you're saying that the Queen plays a very important role. She's like the head of this sort of network, right? And she's like the, how would you describe it? Like the ultimate conduit for this transdimensional, the Watchers to come through, to bleed through, and to kind of operate through her. And then she's the one that maintains the structure that's actually trawling
Yeah.
off human energy, right? And it provides, it's almost like an energetic food chain that provides them energy in their reality, right? But she sits at the top of that.
Yeah. She then, like, the attacks just kept coming and coming, and but thankfully my heart didn't give up, and then I had another like breakthrough, and And then when you bring more light into your body, you're able to see more of your reality. So started to see that the Queen, which is a little old lady, was at the top of basically a spider web. So there is, when I see spiders, and it's like an inverted realities, they invert reality. So obviously most people see the royal family, well, used to, as like these lovely family that, you know, but actually she controlled the satanic system, controlled the top of it in the physical realm. So, you know, for all the elite, they looked up to the Queen, and she was the closest to the Watchers, which is another universe, which is what the satanic people, they worship, because these beings are not like you and I. They've basically been created in a lab, in the fact that it's a mix with human consciousness and AI, and therefore their god is something physical, which is another being in another universe, which I see as these giants. And so when they're doing these satanic rituals, they're bringing that universe closer to our universe. So they're kind of so our reality becomes infested with satanic energies, and then they feed off our frequency, because naturally when you look at anybody who is reppy or half-breed, they have very little female energy. So their survival skills is to feed off life, human life. It's and then they pray to their gods for more power and more, so they, you know, sacrifice human life or for more power and more a bigger role in the whole spider web.
Yeah, these are, so we would call these people, like, you say hybrids? They're kind of semi-human, semi-technology. Would you say, like, these people in this world?
It's like the middle between the AI. So I see that these reppies, they weren't naturally formed like us. They've been created in a lab through AI and consciousness. So their brains, when you look at their brains, when we look at our brain, you've got a lovely female energy one side and a masculine energy that side. The female feeds the masculine. We are able to survive by ourselves. But because of their, like, screwed up, because they're actually created outside, like they're not natural, they are naturally parasitic. You know, they and in order to do that, they have to manipulate, they have to use black magic. They can't survive by themselves. And they're vampires, is where the vampire thing comes from. Yeah.
So it's a
So
bloodline. So it's actually a bloodline, right?
bloodline. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
bloodline.
Okay, and so is this just like a very, very tiny percentage, or would you say that, like, you could meet some of these people in daily life because they're kind of
I've met
psychopaths?
many.
Many, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They I don't know. It's not like I have met I have met a couple of people, and they've got the eyes, so you know straight away.
Mm.
But you don't know straight away either. But you do know when, if you upset them,
They
because the way
just
they attack, they're not like, if you got upset with me or I got upset with you,
mm,
your energy's, oh, okay, it's like, doesn't affect, but their energy is like electrical currents. They can attack like in a way that I can't. It's They're a different race altogether. It's even though they look like us, they're not like us. Yeah. And they could be your neighbor. Do you know what I mean? They have normal lives in the way that normal, but they're not normal. There is a alien hybrid race here.
yeah. Do
Yeah.
they know it though? Do they even know themselves that they are, or does it take them a while to figure it out?
Yeah, I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know. Um, they must, obviously, they know that there's something wrong. I don't really concentrate on it really, but I now stay clear, like, because I know that it's like, I don't, I did for me a long time. Like, what is wrong with people? I'm so why? Oh, this is not normal. It's like, and these are just people. Do you know what I mean? They're not Satanists. It could be they're not Satanists, but they have abilities, or they have ways that they attack is just not normal. just
Because I look at some, I mean, a lot of politicians for me are just like dead. They don't have that sentience to them. You know, like Matt Hancock. You know, you
mm,
look at him, he just looks like some kind of vessel, and there's no humanity to him. And you see in his eyes, he's just dead. You know, that
yeah.
could be someone that is maybe a conduit for this. I don't know.
Yeah, well, there's different. So you've got the hybrid humans, and then what I call, and then you like Keir Starmer. So when I looked at him,
Evil,
and he's a
evil.
full rappy.
Yeah.
Like he's different. It's not got human in it.
I like how you just you make an affectionate nickname for it, like Reppy.
It's just like this hundreds and hundred years old reptilian.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like there's no humanity in him at
Or
all.
Tony Blair. Like for me, Tony Blair is like ultimate evil. He looks like the Green Goblin, doesn't he?
He does actually. I think in that arena,
Hmm.
you, these when I was being programmed, there was times where I wasn't by myself. I was with loads and loads of children, and I say that most of those children, I assume their parents are like, right, this is what you do, this is how we do it, and so all the people that are politicians, I highly suspect. I mean, I don't know because I haven't
Hmm.
looked at every politician, but I highly suspect they've gone through the programming. They've gone through that programming,
Yeah, I
and
bet.
why they program either one to use your energy. So I was like I was like a battery for them, and two to control you, but also to jump in. They can use you and mind control you. So they can be possessed
Yeah,
at a certain age where they're conscious. So I look at Keir Starmer. That that body hasn't had their consciousness stops about 4 or 6 years old, and then a reptilian came in. So it's although it's just a skin of
yeah.
a human being that once a human being, but now is a complete reppy.
And he was pals with Jimmy Savile as well. There's photos of him from when Keir Starmer was a kid, like hanging
Yeah,
out with Jimmy. I'm sure he was probably in that network.
yeah. He would have been severely abused. So what I discovered, because I do remote views and I understand history.
Yeah.
I do this on my Patreon site, and what I discovered is like World War Two, with the where they're killing people. What's it called?
What do you mean, killing
World
people?
War Two, where they were killing all the I can't. The mine's gone out. It's
What,
like
The
basic
H word?
Catholic people.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the H word.
Mm,
Um, they weren't just, oh, we're just going to kill these people. What they were doing was creating the MK Ultra. How can we
yeah.
traumatize a mind so much, traumatize and be so much, so they can be taken over by
Yeah.
these reptilians? Yeah,
Mengele, wasn't it? I think
yes,
Mengele, and yeah, yeah,
yeah. So all these, what they've done on Big Society about, it's
mm,
all comes from them, the satanic side. But the workings of that was World War Two.
yeah. And they carried it on. It kept going. Yeah.
Yeah,
People think that all ended in the Second World War, but it just probably went underground, and then it just
yeah. No, you see it
proliferated.
everywhere. You see it
They're
everywhere.
everywhere. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's almost like the opposite of what you think. It's that actually it's almost like we're living in the hell world. That's what it feels like a little bit. But it's all coming up to the surface now. And it's now showing all this black magic, all this occultocracy is now showing itself. It's almost like they're in the death throes and they're losing their power. And it's almost like a cornered rat. It's like it knows it's about to dive, so it's throwing everything at us. And it just feels and then those that can see it are starting to go, oh, here we are. This is what's
yeah.
running the show.
Yeah, I don't have any fear. It's like they've been
Yeah.
on downfall for many years. They can't survive. This is why, if you look at live in amazing times, like the
Mm.
truth and everything, you can be on here, and
Mm.
all this truth coming out, and also it's like them. But why? It's because we're so amazing. The consciousness, we are creator of our reality. We don't need anybody or anything. We create our reality. And if people start to wake up that the alien systems what we have, which are alien systems, which are the political system, the religious system, the medical system, they're all alien systems to keep you in this victim state where you don't realize your power. And all those are crumbling, and they will crumble to the ground. And that if people are not waking up to the satanic stuff, they wake up to the like, oh my god, they really do not give a toss about us, because they don't they're not like you and I. They
Yeah.
don't think like you and I.
Is it just because you've mentioned it's like the Watchers or that kind of entity that those you also say they're like ETs, different from a different universe. But are
Mm.
there other also different negative ETs or forces? Like some say Luciferian, some say Satanic, some might have other names for them, or would you say it's just one main negative force coming into this realm?
So the Watchers, so they the Watchers brought in the Egyptians. So this is to create slavery, and the Egyptians started dying, so they had to leave. The Watchers were here for a bit, but they started dying. It's the atmosphere they can't. And then discovered on the Q&A, the reason we look different, the reason we have a white man, the reason we have all the different races is because of the different genetic things that have been injected into us. If there wasn't, so there's been a lot of influence by ETs, but it seems that the Watchers have been the managing force of that. They don't, like, in their eyes, owned us, kind of thing.
Yeah, they've meddled with our DNA. I've heard that before.
Mm,
I've heard terms like Anunnaki. I don't know if that's the same thing or slightly different, but I've heard other
yeah.
people say that at some point they actually interfered with our gene pool and they put reptilian DNA into us, stuff like that. I don't know if that connects.
Wow. I still haven't got the big, I suppose, big picture, but we had, I was doing remote viewing as I do, and had these before the hybrids are the middleman, right? But underneath, inside Earth, I discovered was these massive, the FBI know about them, these massive reptilians, like huge. Like, this is where Godzilla came from, right? So these Godzilla beings. I know this sounds so crazy.
Go there, let's go there. Let's do it.
The audience will be fine.
Unfiltered, yeah.
So, and they landed. There was 5 of them, and they went underground in Australia. And the what I saw is that the FBI. There's stories of humans go down into the ground in Australia, the Aborigines and all that. They or Aborigines started talking about it, is that you would get eaten. These dinosaur things would eat you. And anyway, the FBI became interested. They went over to, this is a remote view. They went over to Australia, and they moved right underground, but they were more under now America. And as I was talking to this FBI agent, he was saying that they come across as they're very manipulative. They come across, they want peace, they don't want to harm anybody, but they can't get home. They're trapped here. And he said, but as we started to get closer to them, he said that the men would come back, the FBI men come back, and they would completely lose their mind, wouldn't know who they are, where they're from. They would completely lose it. So then they realized that actually they were quite hostile. And when I look at these beings, there's not 5 of them anymore, there's 3. They set off a frequency, and it's a reptilian frequency. It's how reptilians think. And just like a radio station, our mind is programmed to, tune into different frequencies. And so there's people tuning in to the reptilian frequency. Well, if you tune into the reptilian frequency and start thinking like a reptilian, and you start detaching from your heart, it then goes into the DNA, because you pass it on. So as I see, like understanding the brain, you start to understand how reality works. But if you start thinking a certain way, so if you have a certain belief and it's very strong, like if I see people that believe in religion and stuff, that goes in the DNA. And then that frequency, you pass that on to your children. So it's like these beings at the bottom of the pyramid, a holding place. Then you've got the hybrids, the human hybrids in the middle, like anchoring in the other reality to like squash us. Do you know what I mean? So you've got the 2 sides,
Coming,
the middle, the eye, which is the Watchers, and then the bottom bit, the bottom of them. But it's like a frequency war. And because we don't need them, they can't survive without us, but we don't need them. Do you know what I mean? And what I also learn is that Gaia, Mother Earth, the planet we're on, is going through a massive evolution, huge revolution. And this is why people are waking up, understanding themselves, healing, becoming more aware of how we create reality. We are the creator, why we're creating it, all these things. Well, they won't be able to hang on much longer. And I see actually this year that is going to die. Those reppies, they won't be able to exist, because we're also changing the atmosphere. And one of the biggest threats to them is the atmosphere, because it's not natural for them. And as the atmosphere changes, they can't live in our atmosphere anymore.
Aren't they? I thought they were changing the atmosphere by spraying the skies and making it like more for them.
Yeah, I mean, that's their combat to it.
Right.
That consciousness is way more powerful than any technology.
Oh, so you're saying our consciousness creates a different atmosphere, just the like
We create the atmosphere, yeah.
so our growing awakening is actually creating a new like atmosphere.
New atmosphere,
Right.
yeah. Because
Ah, yeah, okay.
we're only waking up because
Yeah.
the planet's waking up.
Got
So
you.
our planet is rising in frequency. So
Uh-huh.
she's healing because
Yeah.
she's gone through an enormous amount of trauma, just like us.
Yeah.
And we're raising. So, like a child, when you're a child, so if you understand a house as well, yeah, how a family works, when you also understand the planet, it's fascinating because there's always, a small bit, but it explains the big bit. So a child, when you're a little one, and you're in your child's energy, you will only go up to the frequency of your mother. So if your mum's depressed, the child will go into that depressed state. If your
Yeah.
mum's really happy, you'll go, and that's because the child needs to be seen by mum, needs to be nurtured by mum, so it needs to go into that frequency. Then when you go into an adult, you go into your own frequency, but we'll only go to the state of potentially the earth. So the earth's rising in frequency, so we are naturally rising up. And this is why we are going through an evolution of consciousness. It's because the earth, the planets, the universe is rising in frequency. So the reason I'm not frightened about what's going on, and the reason we can see that manipulation's been there forever. It's the reason we're able to see it now is because there's so much light, and people bring more light
Yeah.
into their being, and we understand more.
And that's why they're also blocking the sun. It's because that's another like opposite they're trying to do to block the sunlight coming to us because we react with the sunlight, helps the awakening, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, everything is so healing. Like I think in the Q&A, it's like you need sun every day. It's like if you knew the benefits of the sun, you would be out every day in the sun. It's
Yeah. I need to get more sunlight, to be honest.
yeah,
I'm a
it's
night
hard
owl.
at this
I'm a
time of year,
night owl,
though.
so it's difficult. Yeah. Can I
Yeah.
ask, Rebecca, so how was it that you finally broke all your programming?
um, Through awareness of self,
Mhm.
understanding through. So with programming, where any trauma, you suppress your emotional self, and then your brain um, creates a survival mechanism. So as I started to become more aware around 27, started to become aware of myself, aware of my behavior, started analyzing myself, reflecting on myself, and then healing. I started to release the emotions. So every time I got a memory, all that energy would come out of me. That was around that time that happened at that memory. So all the fear to the pain, to the physical pain, to the and that would naturally break down the programming of releasing it from my body, and so and it's taken years. It's years, John. It's not like, oh, I'm going to do this, and I've just
Yeah.
allowed life to trigger me, and understand that, okay, I've been triggered here. Okay, it might be something completely different. It's not about that. It's why am I feeling these strong emotions, and just trusting the process. But it's been very, very difficult.
I know. I was going through your book and I thought, oh my God, not another thing for you. Bless you. Do you know what I mean? And another thing and another. But it's just ongoing, I'm guessing, right? It's almost like it's never ending, kind of the programming.
Oh, I've gone through points of just like this is never ending,
Mm.
but I do feel it's ended. Like I do feel it's ended. It might be, but I say that, and then I'm probably
There
going
might
to
be
be
something else happening.
hospitalised next week.
Oh no.
So I try not to say that, but yeah, I do feel a massive.
Yeah.
Um, but that side, because it just feels like I don't need any more memories. I understand everything in the fact of what took place, but also the process now is like, okay, that doesn't define me. I'm very who I am. They tried to stop who I am. Why would they stop that? And so the help that I able to give other people, making them aware of themselves, to help people like break the religious programming, to
Yeah.
all these things, helping people with their programming, basically, to help them break it
Break
is
it. Yeah.
yeah.
And can
And
I ask, because I
yeah,
remember in your book you said something, you actually, I'm not sure whether it was in real life or not, but didn't you see the Queen? And then you were able to, and you said that she didn't want you to die. And I was
yeah,
wondering why you thought that was, if you had all
yeah.
this power.
So I was in that room, the same program room, with Prince Philip,
Yeah.
and we were. I don't know what happened before, if he raped me before or after. I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be in that program room for no reason. There would have been he would have been
Yeah.
doing something to me, and he wanted me dead, and he was told he wasn't allowed to kill me.
Philip, Prince Philip. Yeah.
It's Philip, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was
Okay.
told he wasn't allowed, and it was like he was really angry. So he wasn't allowed to kill me, and that baffled me. I didn't understand, because they treated me like nothing. Um, so it'd be easier, just to kill me, like just get it over and done with. And I don't. Why didn't they? Why didn't she kill me? I think I was an energy source, a battery for them. So they fed off me. So every link that they had to me, they feed off my energy.
Wow.
So all the links, if it's Jimmy Savile to the Queen, to Prince Philip, to the other people, priests from the Vatican, they lived off me, my energy source. So I think that's why they didn't kill me. I was a battery for them.
How were they sourcing, like, how were they drawing that energy from you?
Well, they say, oh, yeah, understand energies. So when your consciousness, say you're a part, when trauma is traumatized, I had their energy in me, and their energy, you're never away from your energy. So even though it's in me physically, their energy, they're connected to that energetically. So they can access me all the time. That's why they could do so much to me as an adult, because anytime I went out of frequency range and they wanted to slap me back down, they would come in and attack me. So we should be, each individual on this planet should be whole. Their energy should be, you live on your energy. But we live in a parasite system, and what you don't see, because it's energy, so you don't see it on a physical level. You see other people siphoning off you, and they can only do that if they have to get in bed into your energy. So they have to traumatize you, and then they're locked in. So there's like, so they go away after they've raped me, and then my heart is also being, they are able to access my life source.
So that you don't actually have to be in physical space proximity with them. They can actually, once they've
No,
tuned
no,
into your
no, no.
energy,
No, they can
but
just,
they were still getting you to meet up in physical proximity though, then as well.
yeah, they did all the trauma
Oh, right.
as when I was a child.
Oh, I see.
And so all that trauma, so their frequency was in me. I was
Mm.
part of their web. You'll find, like, all the politicians, or if it's famous people, they're all part of that web. And then it was, so they've all got access to one another. So when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, I need to be out of this web. So this energetic web that you don't see. So it's like they own people, not by contracts or whatever like that. They own them energetic because they've been abused by that person, and that person, they just access. They're not like humans, they just access you. Yeah.
So
Energy.
they're accessing their own bloodlines, their own hybrid bloodlines, but then they're also going after humans as well and trying to break them and make them
Well,
part of that web.
yeah. So I was a battery for them.
Yeah.
And that is sexual energy. That's their, what I can understand, and that was the programming. So it was, they went like a prostitute, and I was like a spiritual prostitute for them. Yeah. So to get out of that, I had to heal everything.
Right. Yeah. What was so you mentioned Jimmy Savile and you mentioned like they would traumatize you with the animals and stuff. Like was
Mm.
did that go on quite a bit then? Was there quite a lot more of those events or was it just one-offs?
I just remember that event. I mean, it's the events that I've written about in the books. It's like the memories that I've got. I don't know if they're more memories or I mean, the stuff that I haven't written in the book. But I I don't know. I couldn't say, oh, this happened X amount of times or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's like my memory would like come out, so I'd release it, which would be like going physically, emotionally through it again. Horrendous. But it also take other energies with it. So I don't know how many times. I'm hoping that I only met Jimmy Savile the once. I met the Queen. I think I have three memories of the Queen physically meeting the Queen. But I think one of those was all on one day. Two of those was all on one day. So I can't actually say, although I don't feel I have any of their energies in me anymore. I'm like free from it.
Can we talk about how you defeated the Queen? I love that part in the book, and then
Yeah.
it's almost like you took her power away, and then that was like the start of the crumbling of the spider's
Yeah.
web.
So I know this sounds crazy. I was basically when I started getting attacked, but my heart just opened up, and it was like I knew I was part of Mother Earth, and Mother Earth was supporting me. So all this light came through, and then I was able to see the spider web, and I was able to see the Queen at the top, but then I started getting attacked by another black magician woman. But the machines outside of this reality, there was all these machines. How do I explain this? But every night it was a battle. It was an energetic battle. Plus, in the day, I was helping people, but I'd have Satanists call me up, pretending to be clients, and then put their black magic and crap over me. It was like I was on a huge learning curve on how the matrix worked, because there was like holographic rooms all around Earth. They would take it's like very sort of sci-fi and crazy, but it is what happened. And then things calmed down, and then the attacks, attacking my son directly, and then the Queen started attacking. The Queen, England. I'm like a normal person. It sounds crazy. So but obviously she's not a woman. She's a reptilian, a very manipulative. And she didn't actually directly attack me. I think the first time, I think it was my son. So it's like you see the spider web, and it's like get free, and then she would come down the spider web, and it was like you can't. But it was good because the memories would come back with the trauma that I went with the Queen, and I needed that to be triggered so I could get rid of those frequencies. So the reason she could attack me directly is because she traumatized me as a child, and then it was just an energy battle. It was a big two
juggernauts were coming together.
Yeah. And it ended up as a satanic ritual. So she was conducting I didn't know. I just woke up and I couldn't not breathe. I couldn't breathe. It was like someone was cutting off my oxygen.
Yeah.
And as I relaxed and looked, I saw that the Queen was doing that. Not just the Queen, but loads of politicians, and the politicians were in the circle, and they were conducting a satanic ritual, and they were bringing close that the Watcher, the other universe. And there was just this battle because I needed to survive. I needed to live. And
so they were directly targeting you in that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And she was using me for my light. Light is a power. It's a source. It's an energy. It keeps the body alive. It's an energy source. It runs the car. It's so maybe she was just using that but it was like taking so much I couldn't bloody breathe. The reason we breathe is because of the left brain, and she's sourcing all that out for herself. Then it was so that was
you were like, no. you had to say it was like, no, you shall not part. You know, you had to really,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was a
But,
massive day. That was a
wow.
big freedom day, even though I wasn't fully free till late, but it was a big freedom day. It
But
was
you
a
prevented it though, and that's what ultimately took her power away.
yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I said in the book,
Mm.
I believe that she went because but that's just it. I don't know exactly, but that was just my intuition. She killed herself. She euthanized herself with the help, obviously, of AIDS a year before it was announced. That's what I could understand, and that because she didn't get what she wanted. Yeah,
From you or from like life or both, maybe.
from the Watchers, she didn't
Right.
get the power that she wanted,
Mm.
um, and I've been fighting this for years. So it was like
Mm.
I don't know why there was so much like I was yeah, I don't know why. Maybe I'll understand the bigger picture, but maybe the battery that I am was so big that she lived on it. It was a big
Wow.
a big battery for her. But I think I did a journey. Yes, it's on my Patreon. I did a journey. She was struggling to stay in human form.
Because they shapeshift if they don't, if there's like a lack of
Yeah,
energy, right? Is that right? And then they can end up,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was little. This is another memory of her. I didn't write this in the book actually, but I was in a bedroom, which I assume was her bedroom, but I don't know. And I was just standing there, and she looked, human. She looked human, and she was looking at me, and then within a blink of an eye, she moved, and she moved in an inhumane way, and then her face was just a reptilian face, right up to me like that, and then gone like blank. And then when I did, um, and then there was an incident at the church, and her eyes just changed. So the memories that came back was like, this is definitely not a human being. And then when I did a remote view, I think it was a couple of years ago on her, um, she was struggling to stay in form. So it wasn't she didn't have the human. They suck off the human life force so they can stay in that human frequency.
Got you. That's why they do it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so I just saw her as a little old lady, and then she turned into this reptilian walking around the palace. So it was,
Gosh.
yeah,
Well, that explains the dinosaurs that your kid was seeing, right?
yeah, yeah,
There's also a bit of that because I've also heard that they bring in like humans to interbreed with and infuse with their gene pool, so that it kind of dilutes the reptilian gene down a little bit. And I've heard that maybe Princess Diana was brought in for that. I don't know, but
yeah. She coming on the human side, didn't she? Bless her.
mm,
Yeah, I think the you've got basically the reppies and then the human female. It's always the female, and then yeah, and then what they create.
yeah,
So yeah, and then you get a hybrid human,
I hope.
hybrid reppy.
And do you think Prince William and Harry are part of it? Because I feel like Harry's almost rebelling a little bit against it, as if he's not doesn't want to be part of it, or do you think they all are?
I did a journey. I did a really an emotional journey on Princess Diana, and she said they're gone. So there's no the trauma that they would have gone through. But I actually haven't looked at them like they could be rappy. But yeah, I doubt it on that high up. They would have. They in a fight anyway. Their egos and they're emotionally retarded. They're
Yeah.
stupid. Yeah, oh god, yeah. They're
I, I,
emotional
mm,
retards.
I feel like if anyone's going to be more reppy, it's William. I think Harry's feels a little bit more like
I
the
remember
the black sheep, but
Yeah, William's very stupid. I
mm,
remember doing that. He's a very stupid man. He's not bright at all. Not to say that he's not a rappy or that say he's a rappy, but they're emotionally very retarded. So it makes them very. They don't. It's like Prince Andrew. He's not a bright man.
no, none of them are they?
Because he's got no heart consciousness, so they can't
Yeah.
assess reality in the way that we do. Um, but yeah, I don't think you'd be that close to that, like your grandmother being the top of the food chain and, she holding the food chain, that they wouldn't be, they would have been completely indoctrinated into that.
They wouldn't have been.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah, they would have been
Oh, they would
indoctrinated.
have been.
Yeah,
So they are
they
they
would
are
have been.
they are doing it. So they are probably doing their own rituals and doing stuff to kids. Do you think?
I'd have to do a journey to see if they
Mm,
do that. But
mhm.
they definitely would be hybrids.
Yeah, DNA wise,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so and with hybrids, it's all the narcissistic trait. It's all like left brain's very small, very
Mm.
little heart consciousness, and then they have to parasite off others. But they do argue. They do argue and look like, oh, there's a division. But no, I'd have to do a
Have to
remote
look
view
into
on
that one.
boys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But it does feel as though that the whole kingdom, well, their kingdom's falling apart, which is good. I definitely feel that. I feel
yeah.
like
I
it's
did.
good stuff happening.
It was Prince Charles, because Prince Charles. Do you know that
Oh,
crazy thing that happened in London with the horse and there
oh,
was this horse running through London. It must have been about a year ago, and blood.
yes, yes.
Well,
Oh,
that was
yeah. That's a ritual, right?
yeah, it was a ritual,
Yeah.
and that was a ritual because Prince Charles had killed himself. The real Prince Charles. Yeah,
No.
the Prince Charles that we see today. That's not the real Prince Charles.
Who is he then?
Um, oh, I don't know who that is. I don't know.
Clone or
I don't know
whatever.
if it's
Yeah, could be
clone
anything.
or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the real Prince Charles, because he was getting investigated for the Epstein Island. So the royal family, what I picked up in the remote view, are uh, supporting all the child trafficking,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
that sort of stuff. So he died, and it's like the ownership of the royal family is the Vatican. So the Vatican are in ownership of the palace. That's
Oh,
what
they
I've
own it. They've taken control of it.
taken
Vatican.
control. Yeah, and that Catherine, she's not. Although that it looks like Catherine's come back, and I don't know how they do it, if
She's
it's a
dead.
doll or an AI thing. But
Kate looks dead, right? I
yeah,
get my intuition says she's dead. Kate
yeah.
Middleton.
I did her journey. She died.
Wow.
She died. I did a journey on that. That's on my Patreon as well.
Is
That
that
was a quite emotional journey because
yeah,
Charles was getting arrested for
yeah.
the trafficking and everything like that, for the financial side of
Mm.
and she woke up to it and was like really scared for her children and everything like that, and like, oh my god, so they basically did her in.
They sacrificed her.
Yeah, well, she was in hospital and it was like she can't, because she's woken up, she had no clue, child trafficking, anything like that, and then she woke up and she wanted her kids out of the royal family, and they killed
What
her.
did that and they killed her? Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
So
I
what we're seeing now, I don't know what it
don't know
is.
what we're seeing now. Yeah. I mean, I've interviewed guests that were raped by Charles and Jimmy Savile was involved, and that's why Jimmy Savile and Charles were like best friends. And they used to go into the social services, like the homes. And one of
Mm,
the guys I spoke to, they sent them into the woods. It's like a Hunger Games where they strip them naked and they run them through the woods and they chase them on horses and stuff like that. And he
yeah,
said that yeah, he was raped by Charles, and so there's a whole that's the I sent you that video. That's the network.
yeah,
So Charles was very much a part of that. Well, was I guess if
yeah.
it's if there's a different one, but
Yeah,
yeah,
they're not like yeah, it's like you can't be in that family without being part of that. It's just how they
yeah,
are.
yeah.
It's their survival mechanism. It's like they're not human.
Yeah,
It's
but
not.
they do keep it under wraps well, and they manage to manipulate the public well to like,
Yeah. I
mm,
mean, when I get my memories back, I'm like, the first instance is like, I want to go to the police. Do you know
yeah,
what
but
I
they're
mean?
part of it
That's
as well,
part of
though,
the
aren't they?
incident. You just like you won't have a chance.
No,
It's
you don't have
like,
a chance.
you'd be deemed crazy. They wouldn't even take you seriously.
No, they
It's like,
wouldn't. They wouldn't.
so like I couldn't have any sort of justice, but I suppose the justice is to become myself,
Yeah,
without any of their energies within me, to become free.
yeah.
That's the
That's
justice.
and that's
Yeah.
what you've been doing, isn't it? And so, do
Yeah.
you want to just mention your book again and your Patreon and also your YouTube channel?
Yeah. So my book is called One Set of Footprints, and then you can read about my experiences. It is actually a very positive book at the end. It's not all
Yeah,
doom and gloom. And I have a YouTube channel, Find the Light, and Patreon. So I'm on Patreon just like you, and then I do Q&As. So I remote view stuff. People can just ask loads of questions. Love the Q&As. And then I have healing groups, to the sort of remote view them and how their brain works. And then I do one-to-ones, just help people as much as I can.
yeah, lovely. And it was, and the whole thing when I was reading your book is that the power lies in yourself. Coming back to the power of the heart, not having a savior figure. Don't put any of your power into things outside of yourself. Bring it all back. Believe in yourself. Connect to the earth or Gaia, as you call it, right? And then that's how we empower ourselves again. And
Yeah.
and not
Oh,
because I think a lot of people go to healers for And I think that's also slightly disempowering. I think sometimes the healing world can be, they're all like
Oh,
suffering
it's a mess.
themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a mess. And if you're going to somebody for help, yeah, really check them out. And
God, yeah.
I put myself, and if someone's like, I can heal you, that's not the person. You are the healer. It's like me, I can make you aware of stuff. And that's all I do. I don't go in your energies. I don't miss, there's nothing. It's just to help you understand why you've got what you've got. And through the understanding of self, that's how we evolve. We start to evolve through
Yes.
the understanding of self.
Help people heal themselves is more important. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just do that by naturally just understanding who you are, and why that's happened, or
Mm.
you've got to go forgiveness or whatever. So you start to understand, oh, I'm creating this. This is, I'm creating this for a reason. So you don't feel victimized in your reality. You actually feel empowered. Like, I'm doing this. I'm going through this hard time that I'm gonna need to heal this of me, and that's empowering to understand that, because life can be tough and it's very vulnerable to live, and people forget they've got like this amazing psychic energy within them, the female energy, that sees beyond the physical reality, and it communicates with us through our emotions. So your emotions are telling you, and if you start to really listen to your emotions, then you can access way more information than you'd get on the internet. So it's like you're actually your own internet. It's like you haven't been dropped here and you're all by yourself. You've got this a huge amount of energy that is, once you start to understand it, it's how can you live without it? It fuels the body, keeps your body alive. It's who you are. It will tell you why you're here, everything. So it's understanding. So it's like, instead of looking out there, because you wake up and you start to get obsessed with, what's going on and what's happened.
Mm.
But the next step is to look at self and, okay, why have I created that? Like, and that will break down any programming, because we all have programming, you know. The mind programs itself in order to, survive in certain. So we'll have different traits. So it's understanding those traits or understanding those energies.
Can everyone do it? Or because I've spoken to a lot of people that they've developed these clairvoyant skills because they went through like programming, childhood mind control programming. But can you reach those gifts without having
Well,
it broken?
yeah, totally. I think, and these are our natural abilities.
Right.
These are natural. It's not because, I suppose programming is because you kind of go in, you leave your body, so you start to realize your two energies, and it's easier to live in the heart than it is to live in the body. So the psychic skills are more. But I've been teaching for years, and everybody has the ability, and just, you don't even have to have psychic abilities. It's just, if you go through, you create something in your life, you bring something through, and it's like, okay, why is that? It's like reflecting on that. Why am I creating that? There may be patterns in your life. There may be certain feelings you have. The things that you're attracted to, that you're interested. Why are you interested in those? What is it telling you about? Why are you interested in those frequencies? What
Right. Right.
it's like, it's obviously we're attracted to ourselves. Why are we attracted to certain partner? They'll have frequencies within them
Ah,
that we
okay.
may want
Yeah.
to ignite, or they have similar trauma or whatever. It's like you're creating your reality while you're creating what you're creating.